Our chief guest and keynote speaker has already, in a manner, been introduced by Professor Foretelling as one who not only is serving a community in his own country, in Singapore, but also has been engaged with CMA Sri Lanka. And as was mentioned, certainly no stranger 5 years ago, for the same reason as we celebrate today, he was here then too. And as was mentioned, he's a professor of accounting and associate provost for skills, future, and staff development at the Singapore Institute of Technology. And, well, amongst many other things, he's been traveling, and we're very happy to have him here and speak to us. So our keynote now is to be sounded, Equipping Future Accountants. Professor Ho Yu Ki.
Good evening, Professor Watawala, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for inviting me to share as a keynote speaker. It has been one of life's interesting journey to be associated with CMA and especially the delightful people of Sri Lanka. I think I can never express in words how much you have added joy, meaning and purpose to my life as an academic, as a professional. In fact, I can never dream that I could have such an opportunity to impact or to share the things I've learned as an accountant, as an academic, in such a wide audience. I'm always grateful for this privilege. Monday, I was in Melbourne for the CPA Australia board meeting. So I sit on the CPA Australia board and I was sharing with them how much I appreciated the fact that a young student that went to Australia to study back in the 80s will one day return to serve on the CPA board as a member of the directors. In fact, it was in that association that it has given me accounting as a training. And thereafter I became an accountant. I have served about 34 years as a CPA Australia member. Tonight I'd like to speak to you from a perspective as an educator, as a parent, and concerning some of the thoughts I have for the accounting profession. In fact, never in the history of accounting, we are going to sit at a juncture in which the accounting profession will change dramatically. I have been move on to Singapore Institute of Technology to help a startup sit on the accounting body in Singapore and in Australia. And I look at the development of accountants. I must say that I'm very concerned because the world has changed significantly. So let me give you a context and then I'll carry on to the next presentation. When I was a student of accounting back in the 80s, there were only 11 accounting standards, 250 pages all in. And as a bright young man then, we can remember all the 250 pages. I can tell you exactly what the accounting standard number is, what is the title, what are the provisions, what are the disclosure requirements. We fast forward that 30 years. In 2023, I just counted the IFRS. There are 41 accounting standards. And if you count the number of pages, it's probably about 1,500 pages, followed by another 1,500 pages of interpretation, 3,000 pages. Interestingly, the accounting training program at the university level is still 3 years. Right. And the volume just in financial accounting standards alone has quadrupled over this period of time. We're only talking about the financial standards. We're not talking even about audit, taxation, companies law, and the various disciplines that's bundled into accounting as it is. So the critical question that we need to ask is this: have the individuals become quadruple intelligence, or are we at a certain point in time putting a lot of things into the accountant? And so this is where I come in as an educator and as a practitioner, because I need to be able to understand and ask the question, at what time are we going to hit a saturation point? will the young people today be willing to enter into a profession which continuously increase, in which there seems to be no boundaries? And more important, from the accounting profession and practitioner, what are the key things that we need to have? What are the key things that we need to acquire in this dynamically changing world? So this is the topic that I want to deal with tonight concerning equipping future accountants. I'll skip these slides. I'll provide you basically with the whole deck of slides that tells you, that include these, concerning the background I'm coming from. I'm sharing with you more from an educator perspective, as a practitioner perspective. And more important, I'd like to say, I'm sharing this session as a parent. Looking at the young people today, how much can we load them? How much can we compress them? And how much can we prepare them for a career in which it will be meaningful and purposeful for them? So for tonight's agenda, I'm going to give you a bit background concerning the new syllabus, the revision process, as mentioned. I'm also going to look at, importantly, the challenges facing the accounting profession. As a director of CPA Australia, that is what we discuss extensively. CPA Australia has 170,000 members. We are the fourth largest accounting bodies in the world, behind American Institute of CPAs, ACCA, ICAEW, and then followed by CPA Australia. And our constant thought pattern is this: will the accounting professional bodies continue as it is? What are the changing dynamics that we must incorporate into the accounting profession to continuously make us relevant in this world, to serve the industry, such that the people are willing to engage the services of accountants? And finally, I would like to answer the question concerning CMA Sri Lanka new syllabus, the professional program for 2023 to 27. What's new and why, as we dovetail into how that new program can meet the challenges in the accounting professional body. We always say that we stand on the shoulders of giants, right, to develop a program. We have the Academic Advisory Board, in which I'm always grateful for, right? Professionals who will allow their time, and it spans actually different countries. I think I must congratulate CMA, President and Vice President, and the Council for examining actually a very credible and dynamic academic advisory board. We were very privileged and fortunate to engage a team of very good consultants as we revise this program. All right. I think I can never say enough. Thank you, Dr. Nguyen, all right, and your team, Professor. And we really appreciate the hard work that you have put into turning every stone to allow us to do this exercise properly once every 5 years. The background is that we have the handbook of 2018 to 2022. You see, this is the traditional understanding of universities, in which we look at the syllabus once every 5 years. But as an educator, we suddenly realize maybe that is not enough, because the world is changing so fast. So back in 2021, we did an interim update, and the interim update tempered a bit with the data sciences to introduce digitalization into the entire program. But that is not enough, all right? So in 2021, the process began for us to prepare the review, and the hard work starts in 2022. It took us about a year or so to look at the landscape, to put together the pieces, the things that we need to do in order to bring us to where we are today. When we were doing the process of review, these are some of the critical questions that we need to ask. We need to look at the changing accounting profession. What are the pieces, right, that currently that we really need to give to our young people so that they have a future, so that the accounting profession can be something that's exciting, that's fit for purpose. We access the knowledge, the skills, the competencies needed for future accountants. We look at the technical reports. We look at the survey. We look at particularly the World Economic Forum. What are the forecasts into the future, 2025, 2030? The key relevant skills that our young people need or the accountants need in order to be thriving in the future. The team did a significant gap analysis of the current syllabus, right? You see, we always have this thought pattern. If you do not know where you are, it is very hard for you to chart a course to bring you to where you want to go, all right? You need to know where you are as a base. What are the gaps? What are the things that you need to do to bring us to where we want to go? And we gather the inputs from global perspectives and thought leaders. I always remember the Zoom sessions, the panel of advisors or the panel of reviewers. We discuss, listening to the perspective from America, from the Australians, from the Canadians, from the Singaporeans, the Sri Lankans. We discuss about what are the trends, what are the pieces that each of us are doing. All right? What are the things that we bring to the table to allow us to create a robust syllabus that deals with the thought pieces that will allow us to go into the future? The consulting team did an extensive engagement of stakeholders to find out exactly what are some of their thoughts and what are the things that we need to deal with. I'm pleased to say the objective of the CMA professional program, which is very different or significantly different from the objective in the 2018 to 2022 program, because we actually revised the entire objectives to ensure that we are equipping professional accountants for the future. All right? That means we stare down the corridor of time and ask, what are the possibilities? What are the things that we need to do to bring our young people or the accountants of today into tomorrow? And with this, we recognize the need to enable them digitally, to develop their technical competence, and to proceed them for driving sustainable value creation. Later on, I'll show you, right, how all this fits into the working blocks that we have for this syllabus. So lo and behold, this is what we have. And we have chosen the theme, equipping future accountants. The thought was future-ready accountants. With a similar thought pattern, right, that we today must prepare for tomorrow, right? If we do not work today with the view of tomorrow, the danger is that we will be going down a road blindly, for that matter, right? So this is where we are in terms of the introduction. So let's look at what are the challenges facing the accounting professions. So as a professor, every year the university has an open house, and every year I will stand before parents and students, and they will constantly ask me this question. The World Economic Forum labeled accounting as the third most at-risk job. Accountants will be replaced by artificial intelligence, right? And constantly the parents will ask, why should my son and daughter study accounting? Is there a future for accountants as it is, right? So this is the record, or in terms of the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs Survey 2020, where on the one side, it tells us what are the jobs that are increasing demand. And on the other side, are jobs that are of decreasing demand. And you'll realize I highlighted for you the accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll clerks. They will be of the future, or they will be of the past as it is, all right? Accountants and auditors too. Is this the reality? Is this what the future looks like? So let me give you an example. As a company, right, I engage internal auditors to help us look at processes, help us to look at the compliance in terms of our internal controls. In the good old days, the internal auditors will select 20 invoices or 50 invoices, and they'll do a sampling check. And after looking at 50 invoices, they'll say, all right, your system is not robust because we found that there are 5 invoices that are not following the processes that you have laid out in terms of your internal controls. 50 invoices, the team of internal auditors examined, and they found 5 mistakes as it is. Recently, I was looking at the internal audit report produced by my internal auditors, and they examined 4,700 232 transactions or invoices. How were they able to do that? They were able to run all those invoices through the analytics and pick up from us what are the possible non-compliance. Right? So this is where technology entered the world, in which some of the traditional work that's done by accountants will become obsolete as it is. Right? So this is where the accounting world is changing significantly. In 2015, the World Economic Forum created and published this paper called The New Vision for Education, Unlocking the Potential of Technology. That was about 7 or 8 years ago. And I would suggest that this paper is actually foretelling the future, back 8 years ago. And these are the two major statements that they make. To thrive in today's innovation-driven economy, workers need a different mix of skills than in the past. In addition to foundational skills like literacy and numeracy, they need competencies like collaboration, creativity, problem solving, and character qualities like persistence, curiosity, and initiative. I am reasonably certain that all of you, if not many of you who will sit here tonight, have a distinguished career. But when you look at how you arrive at this point in your life, you realize that these attributes actually summarize who you are. That means many of you are creative. Many of you are collaborative. Many of you are here as senior business leaders because of your capabilities in terms of problem solving. All right? And you have those tenacious character qualities like persistence, curiosity, and initiative. So the World Economic Forum actually distilled for us what are some of the success factors in which the young people of tomorrow will need to have in order for them to be successful. And this is what we need to do, to put that into the accountants, because we know that if we don't put that into the accountants will become obsolete because they'll become nothing more than just bookkeepers. They're nothing more than just machines, which will be replaced for that matter. So the discussion continued to look at what are the skills, the 16 skills that the student require for the 21st century. And we partition them along the foundational literacies, the competencies, and the character qualities. That was done in 2015. We fast forward that to 2021, 2022, 2023. We continuously engage the employers and ask them, what are the key skills that will enable the young people to succeed? And we break them up into the soft skills and the hard skills, right? And what are the soft skills? What are the hard skills? The hard skills are the technical skills, the numeracy skills, the financial literacy skills, the understanding of technical accounting standards, management accounting, law, and so on and so forth. But there's the other group, which is we call these soft skills, the persuasions, the negotiations, the problem solving, the teamwork, the communication, the time management, right? So these are the skills, the soft skills that are deemed to be essential for individuals to thrive in this world. I have two boys. My two boys are 28 years old and 25 years old. Both of them are working right now. So when they were growing up, I was very conscious of the fact that as a father, these are the skills that I need to incorporate into their lives, because I know that these are the skills that will determine very much their future and their career in years to come. So that is the reason why I'm an educator. I treat every kid in my classroom at the university just like my children, because I want the very best for them. I want to be able to train them with both the hard skills and the soft skills so that they're able to thrive in this very dynamic world that's changing. This is a study that was done very recently by the World Economic Forum on the Executive Opinion Survey. What did they survey the executive about? They surveyed the executive on their opinions concerning the skill dimension, which our education system, the education 4.0 framework that needs to have in order for the people to thrive. Or in other words, as employer, what are you looking for? 4 things that came out. Number 1, that they want to see the people, the employees, to be global citizenship and having a civic responsibility skills. That means to be ethical, right? It means to have the global citizenship, to understand community as it is, that they are not an island by themselves. The second thing they're looking for is innovation and creativity. That means they can stand on their own 2 feet. They're able to take initiative. They're able not just to adopt solution, but they must have the ability to create solution. Third thing, they must have the ability to do collaboration and self-management skills. That means the understanding of who they are, the self-awareness, becomes another dimension in which they unlock their potential. And finally, the digital and technology skills is something that you cannot run away. So what they have done is that they have looked at which are the regions. I've highlighted specifically the blue line, which is the world sitting somewhere around 3 to 4, hover around 4, right? Where 7 is the best, where 1 is the worst as it is, right? And cutting across all those 4 dimensions, this is where the world on average stands. One of the interesting things you'll see, South Asia, which includes India, Sri Lanka, basically sits somewhere a bit lower than the rest of the world. On the other 2 extremes, on the extreme right, you have is the Americans, the North Americans, and then the brown colored dots are basically the East Asia and Pacific. That includes Korea, Japan, China, Singapore, and the rest of those countries. So the reason why I bring this out is to allow us to understand, all right, that this is where, as a country, Sri Lanka, that we can use some of these compass points to help us move our boundary of education, the training of accountants. What do we need to do? We need to instill the global citizenship. We need to instill in them the civic-mindedness, the innovations and the creativity, the collaboration, the self-management, the self-awareness, ensuring that the people are confident in who they are. And finally, we need to give them high dosage of digital and technology skills. In the accounting world, this is the diagram and the statistics coming from America. There is fewer people are taking the CPA exam. Fewer graduates are also taking the accounting courses. And this seems to be like a global phenomenon. In fact, in Singapore, this issue was so serious that the government set up a task force to look into why are the young people not entering the accountancy schools, or why are the young people not becoming accountants. In Australia, we face exactly the same problem. And one of the possibilities that we're working on as a hypothesis is that accounting is too boring. We need to bring the fun part. We need to bring the contributions, the importance of accounting job back to the young people. That it is not just the IT that is sexy, all right? But accountants actually to a certain extent determine the world, because the world of business is always measured in numbers produced by the accountants. See, we need to bring the halo effect back to the accounting world. So this is where, as an educator, we are working on, over the years, looking at how we can change and incorporate the pieces that we need to bring the fun part, the contribution part, the relevant part to the accounting education. You and I started the world in the accounting training. I call this the pillar approach. We are technically steeped. We know our accounting standards. We know all the technical attributes of being an accountant. But along the way, we realized that in order to succeed, that is not sufficient. You need the soft skills. You need the ability to communicate. You need the ability to persuade. You need the ability to work as a team. And that is where we enter into the T-shaped approach. And then we also realize that in the T-shaped approach, as the world changes, it is not sufficient too, because the IT, the information technology and digital skills, in many ways underlie the things that accountants do. See, remember, when we were in the 80s, we were using VP Planner, Lotus 123, right? Those were the spreadsheets that allows us to have a cutting edge. Today, it's impossible to think about any young people who do not know how to use an Excel spreadsheet. The things that were of so-called cutting-edge technology today has become a necessity, has become a basic essential. So we are moving further to introduce Power BI, right? Quicksand. We're introducing data analytics. We're looking at dashboard. We're looking at data visualization to allow us to understand the data better. So the accounting education is never complete, where individuals just have the technical skills or even the soft skill. They have to embed that into the digital skills as it is. When we wrote this framework about 2-3 years ago, we thought we would stop there. But unfortunately, the world moves on further, right? In what way has the world moved on further? The world has moved on further with the introduction of ESG. ESG was introduced to the world probably about 2004 by one of the most important report written for the United Nations. And the report was, Who Cares Wins? And it was actually a technical report written by financial institutions that suggests that we need to incorporate the environment, the social, and the governance into good business in order to make money, in order to be sustainable for that matter. And lo and behold, in the last 20 years, it has mothered along, but we have come to a tipping point, particularly with the climate change that we are facing, and the running out of certain resources as it is, that if we do not treat ESG seriously, there may not be a world left for us, right? So the IFAC, in its wisdom, that we have created financial accounting standards to regulate the way companies disclose the financial performance and numbers, and to create the audit process to lock down the integrity of these numbers. They are going to create a parallel standards that will deal with the sustainability issue, the International Sustainability Standard Board, ISSB. And the writings are on the wall in the sense that ISSB is going to promulgate sustainability standards that is actually parallel or in companion with the financial reporting standards, right? Because if we don't do this, the argument we have is that there will not be a world for our grandchildren or our great-grandchildren to live in, because the world, the way we are living it, is not sustainable, right? So if that is the case, we have taken us about 40, 50 years to develop the accounting standards. We are not going to have 40 to 50 years to develop the sustainability standards. It's going to be going on a fast-track basis. And who are the best people to do sustainability standards? It must be the accountants, because we are the king of numbers. We are the prince of numbers as it is, right? And at the end of the day, the argument will always be whatever that's not measured will not get done. Your sustainability standards will, at the end of the day, have to come down to measurement. And we are going to create the accountants who will be able to measure all these indicators, and we're going to create a parallel industry that will allow us to audit or provide assurance to all those numbers. As far as I'm concerned, these are the writings on the wall, right? So these are the developments that have taken place in the last 2 to 3 years. Old dogs learning new tricks. I have taken on a new challenge. I'm going to go on to teach carbon accounting sometime this year, right? I'm going to learn how to actually look at, as an accountant, to account for carbon emission, right? Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3. How are we going to measure them? How are we going to control them? And how are we going to build models, especially with the introduction of carbon taxes, to integrate basically pollution or carbon emission into our profit maximization and being able to be compliant in our ESG front. Therefore, as an accountant, you open up a brand new playing field for us as it is. And the accountants has to decide, is this a space that you want to enter into? Is this a space where we can excite our young people? So this is how we break up this reinforced pillar approach into the 4 zones: the accounting business knowledge, the soft skills, the ESG knowledge, and the information technology and digital skills. And it is extremely relevant because this sets for us actually the framework and the patterns in which the CMA program hugs around. If you look carefully at the structure, you realize the accounting business knowledge are actually taken care of our 4 core streams. The 4 core streams that cover management accounting, financial accounting, business management, and supportive stream, which is additional business that deals with law and taxes. On the soft skills side, we are entering into business English, professional communication, advanced professional communication, human resource, the soft skills that allows our candidates or future accountants to thrive. Then we also introduce the ESG knowledge, things that concerns corporate governance, corporate sustainability accounting, the environmental management accounting, the physical and monetary EMA systems, the EMA scope and dimension. And finally, we introduce significantly the IT, the digital skills. And this is how I do a comparison between the past and what we have in the revised syllabus. Communications will move from English 1, English 2, professional communication, and we're going to intensify that with the same number of hours of 270, but we're going to compress that only with 1 English, but the rest of them become professional communication and advanced professional communication. Right. So we are basically changing the landscape. What used to be important is still important, but in a much compressed form, and we push the people to move further down the stream as it is. In terms of IT skills, we have the IT application, the computer-based accounting. That is not sufficient moving forward. We specifically identify the need for IT applications, data analytics, the tools for the accountants, and advanced data analytics. So this is how we rejigger the piece. But as an educator, our constant concern is this: are we packing too much things basically into our curriculum? What do we need to take out in order to put in new things inside? And so this is something that we are constantly working on. The good news is this: the human spirit and the human being, we are very versatile, right? Our plasticity of our mind actually is quite great, in the sense that we have the capability, all right, to basically absorb more information and more skill set. And one of the things that we are very encouraged by is that our children or the young people today are the digital natives. You don't have to teach them how to use a Microsoft Word and Excel. They will learn how to do it. You don't have to teach them how to search the internet for information. They will know how to do it as it is, right? So we must totally change the way we make assumptions about young people and about learning. That means, what do we want to do? Ultimately, what we want to do is to create in them the ability to search for new knowledge and to search for new solution and to be creative and innovation in creating solutions that will be able to solve the real world problem. That's what we need to do. And in Singapore, we use that phrase called lifelong learning. That means the university has come to a point where we have a tipping point. We can't put in too much more syllabus and content into our 3 or 4 years worth of education. But the best thing we can do for the young people is to create in them the ability to self-learn, life-learn. And then for the rest of their life, they will be significant assets to companies and to whichever employers that they will join. So let me wrap this session up with the last 2 slides. I call this a scaffolding approach in terms of our syllabus. The scaffolding approach, in the sense that it covers for us the reinforced pillar approach. You see, in Singapore, we have been discussing extensively whether do we even need an accounting degree to be an accountant. All right? It surprised us. Do we really need an accounting degree to be an accountant? Or maybe we need to redefine an accounting degree by packages. That means we're looking at what we so-called the competency streams. So That means if we want to be accountant, actually what we need to do is we need to define what are the core competencies accountant have, and then allows us to create an education system that lets them acquire those so-called technical skills and competencies. And thereafter, when they example, they become a chartered accountant, they become a cost management accountant, and what have you for that matter. So if you look at the syllabus we have, it gives us that kind of flavor. It created the technical streams that is steeped. That you push the financial accounting, you push the management accounting, which are the core attributes of a management accountant. Then you have the skill set, the communication and the IT skills. But what you did also is that you create scaffolding, right? You create a continuous train. That is, they move from a certificate to a diploma, to an advanced diploma, to a strategic so-called knowledge and level. That means you create scaffolding to allow the people to continuously upgrade one level next. And the nice thing about this is that you're going to create an education system that will become lifelong. Because new things will come along that will pile on top, and the people will continue to progress upwards. You see. And that is one way we think that will uplift the nation, that will ensure that the young people will never lose their job because they are continuously reinventing themselves for the new economy. So allow me to summarize and conclude. In the World Economic Forum 2022, Catalyzing Education, this was a statement that's being made. Alignment will be critical around skills needed for the future of work, specific industries that will require additional talent, and the recognition of multiple and non-linear pathways from education to lifelong learning and productive employment. So the way I want to see the CMA Professional Program is the CMA Professional Program is not an end to itself. It is meant to be a program in which it is a significant pathway to equipping future accountants for the purpose of lifelong learning, for the purpose to ensure that they continuously to have productive employment. Right. So I would like to suggest that this program is as exciting, if not more exciting than a university education. Because as creator of this program, we create the DNA in the young people that they will continue to learn for the rest of their life. And this program, unlike the university program, will continuously morph and change and do interim updates. And every 5 years, we overhaul the whole system to allow us to ensure that our candidates and our students are constantly fit for purpose. So this is what we are trying to do. And I hope that it will be an exciting time 5 years from now where we move to the next upgrade, that we can look back and say that we did create a generation of accountants that are future ready and who will be great future accountants. So with this, thank you very much for listening to my sharing. Thank you.